So when it comes to cooking on hiking and backpacking trips, there are a ton of different options with different features to choose from. In this video, I review the MSR Pocket Rocket 2 canister stove, where I show you the pros and cons of this stove as compared to a more affordable alternative so that you can determine whether or not it might be a good option for you. All that and more coming up right after this. Hello my people, Finerbub here. Thanks for checking out the video. For those of you who don't know, on this channel I'm all about sharing my thoughts and experiences on the best spots to check out and the best gear to bring with. So if, like me, you want to spend more time outside appreciating the finer things in life, do yourself a favor and consider subscribing. Also, feel free to check out the description below for links to any of the videos or products I mention. Alrighty then, without further ado, let us begin. So today we're talking about backpacking stoves, specifically the MSR Pocket Rocket version 2, and why after using this one for almost 3 years, I think it's a great option for most people. So as I just mentioned, I've had this stove for almost 3 years now. During that time, I've used it on all of my camping and backpacking adventures in places like Virginia, Colorado, New Hampshire, Iceland, New York, and Maine, and so far I have no complaints. However, aside from the MSR Pocket Rocket 2, there are a bunch of other options out there offering different features at different price points, so I figured it would be worthwhile to compare the Pocket Rocket 2 to a couple other competing models. At $45 US, the Pocket Rocket 2 represents the middle tier of the price range for these kinds of canister stoves. For that price, you get excellent build quality but no bells and whistles. It's a simple and minimalistic stove but gets the job done every time. Before I bought the Pocket Rocket 2, I had this stove, which was given to me by my dear old friend Mashallah back in the summer of 2016. I'm not entirely sure who makes this one. When I looked on Amazon, I found a few different sellers offering it for about $10 give or take, who all seem to have branded it using their own logos. This stove is a lot more fiddly, so I mainly intended to use it as a spare once I got the MSR, but since I don't typically camp alone, over the years it's gotten just as much use as my Pocket Rocket 2 by the various friends and family members who have joined me on any of the trips I mentioned. And as you can see, it's still in perfect working order. Although the material and build quality is not quite as good as the lightweight yet robust construction of the MSR, this guy has one thing that the Pocket Rocket does not. Whether or not I plan to cook, no matter what sort of outdoor excursion I find myself on, I always bring at least one Bic lighter in case of an emergency. Bics are small, lightweight, and by far the most reliable brand of lighters. In accordance with its minimalistic design, the MSR Pocket Rocket 2 does not house its own ignition source, meaning that you need to light the stove yourself. Interestingly enough, despite only costing about a third the price of the Pocket Rocket 2, this other stove has a little sparker built into it so that you don't have to use a lighter to light it. Irregardless of this feature, I still recommend that you always bring a lighter on any camping, hiking, or backpacking trips. Even though the sparker on my stove has held up pretty well, I did meet a thru hiker during my time in Shenandoah who told me that he started the AT with the same stove and the sparker was the first thing to break on his. So if you do decide to go this route, you should probably bring a lighter with you anyway, if not for the stove, then for emergency preparedness. Now, both the MSR and this more affordable one only come with the stove, meaning that if you get one of these two stoves, you'll need to buy a cup or a cooking pot separately. However, if you decide to go with something on the more expensive end of the spectrum, you might find something like this Jetboil stove system that comes with a matching pot that clips onto the stove in addition to a few other bits, bobs, and doodads. These interlocking Jetboil systems are pretty popular, but I definitely don't think that you need most of these extra features, nor do I believe that you need to spend $80 in order to enjoy a hot meal out in the woods. But I'll admit that they are pretty nice, and it really depends on your own comfort preferences measured against how much of your hard-earned cash that you're willing to spend. For a beginner on a budget, I definitely recommend that you go with the more affordable option. You can buy the stove, a gas canister, a lighter, and one of these stainless steel GSI cups and still spend less money compared to what you would have spent on the MSR stove alone. This way you can still get a full cook set and you'll have more cash to spend on larger gear items like a tent or a backpack whose higher degree of importance to your kit should motivate you to spend the extra money for something that has features that you might want to be a bit more picky about. When you do buy a cup or a pot, just make sure that it's made with single-walled construction so that you don't accidentally blow yourself up like you would if you were to light a flame under a Yeti or a thermos. In addition to all the components I just mentioned, I typically keep a Scour Pad in my kit for the stickier meals that take more than a rinse to clean off your cook pot. I'd also suggest that you get some sort of spoon or spork to round out your kit. Personally, I really like this Light My Fire titanium spork, but there are a bunch of other options as well, so I'll link a few that I've tried down below. You could also just make your own. Shout out to my woodworking sensei, Henry de la Vega. Check out his Instagram, link below. Henry actually turned me on to another cook set item that is great for cleaning as well as scraping up those last bits of food that your spoon can't seem to get to. All in all, even though the MSR doesn't have a built-in lighter, once you use it, it becomes easy to tell how much better the build quality is compared to this other one. The Pocket Rocket 2 is one of those pieces of gear that's simple, effective, and doesn't try to be more than what it is. There's really nothing fancy about it, unless you compare it to the original Pocket Rocket version 1, which is a great stove, but next to my version, it looks like an old clunker. So there you have it, folks. I want to wish a very warm welcome to those of you who are new to the channel. If this is the first video of mine that you've seen, I just want to let you know that I also make travel and hiking guide videos in addition to the gear reviews like this one. Speaking of which, I recently released a video where my brother and I spent 2 days backpacking through the beautiful fall foliage of Catskill Park, linked below. So if you're curious about some of the situations that these stoves have had to endure, or you just want to learn about exciting new places via yours truly, then that Catskills video should suit you quite nicely. Alrighty, my people, that concludes this week's episode of the Finder Bub Show. If you do decide to get the MSR Pocket Rocket 2 or any of the other stoves I mentioned, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments section down below. If not, I hope that you at least learned something that might help with your own search for the perfect backpacking stove. If you do decide to go with another option, I'd still love to have you comment below, especially if you think your insight can help me disprove something that I think I already know. But before you do, I just want to once again thank you oh so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're looking for new gear or planning your next trip, don't let the small details stress you out. Remember, life's an adventure, so relax, breathe in the outdoors, and don't forget to appreciate the finer things in life. I'll see you out there, people. Peace.